So you've all read the first chapter of the Hatchet for homework last night, but I want to just ask you guys a few questions before we go on to make sure that we're all on the same page. So who can tell me what our character's name is? Yes.
Brian. I don't know how to pronounce this. Robison?
Does anyone else know how you might pronounce his last name?
I think it's Robinson.
Robinson? Yeah, I think so. So I'm going to make a little chart with his name at the center. And who can tell me what are some words that you could use to describe him? Yes, Chloe?
Sad.
Sad? What makes you say that?
Because his parents are getting a divorce and he cries a lot.
Can you tell me in the text where you saw that?
Brian felt his eyes beginning to burn and knew there would be tears. He had cried for a time, but that was gone. He didn't cry now. Instead, his eyes burned and tears came. The seeping tears that burned. But he didn't cry. So,
okay,
sad.
Cool. But he's just sad.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's a good way to describe him. Who else has another word that you could use to describe him? Yes, Teddy.
Trustworthy.
Trustworthy? What makes you say trustworthy?
Because he knows the secret behind what caused the divorce, but he hasn't told anybody.
Okay, cool. So you think that makes him trustworthy?
Yes.
Is there another word that you could use to describe what that is?
Private.
Private? Yeah, I would definitely say so. Is there anything else in the text that makes him seem private? That's okay if not. Oh.
Well, he doesn't really talk to the pilot, and the pilot doesn't really talk to him, but he's also not making an effort to have a conversation with the pilot. So maybe he doesn't really want to talk about the one thing that's on his mind, which is the divorce.
Could we also say maybe he's quiet, he's a quiet person?
Yeah.
Cool. And what else? Who else has another way to describe him?
I mean, he just seems like, nervous because the pilot's not talking to him, and then he starts to think that the pilot's more kind of like the plane than a human, and that just seems like a little bit of a nervous thing.
Can you read that sentence out loud?
The pilot sat large, his hands lightly on the wheel, feet on the rudder pedals. He seemed more a machine than a man. And then he talks about how there's like a bunch of switches and stuff, all indicating things that he doesn't understand, and the pilot seemed the same way.
Cool, awesome. Thank you for pointing that out. So I think that this is a pretty good way of describing our character, Brian. Does anyone else have any other words to add? Okay, so I think we have a pretty good way of looking at who our character is. And I think it's really important that we do this every time before when we get a new character introduced to us. Who knows why that might be a good idea? What might it do for us when we get introduced to a new character? Yes, Chloe?
We're just more aware of the little details that make up the personality, and it might make us relate to the character more easily, or relate to them in the way that they're different from us.
Yeah, exactly. Good point. I think it's also going to help us as we keep reading to think about the way that he reacts to different situations, and maybe it'll help us even predict how he might interact with different situations. So in order to remember what we did, and in order for us to practice this tonight for homework, I've written a little chant that I think would be good if we can all perform together. So I'll count us down. You can refer to this poster if you forget the words. 3, 2, 1.
When you open a book and a new character gives you a look, it's time to stop, drop, and start from the top. What's their name? What's their game? Are they running from fame? Are they different from you or just the same? Choose a word that fits, but not so fast. Can you back it up with textual evidence? Doing so will help you know how your character has grown from the start of their journey and on to wherever they go.
Awesome, thank you. So for homework tonight, you'll read the second chapter of The Hatchet, and I want you to do this exercise with any new characters that you get.